What happens if you start a stopwatch every time you start working and stop it every time you get distracted? I tried this extremely simple deep work strategy for 100 days and the results were scary. Since the end of 2024, I've been living without online entertainment by myself. This has given me the time to take up running and run 12 marathons in 12 months, take up language learning and become conversationally fluent in Spanish in 7 months, and take the gym seriously and get in the best shape of my life. However, the biggest thing I wanted to grow was my online business and my personal brand. I spent countless hours at the desk, but no matter what I did, neither of them were growing. That was until I started this experiment. The rules of this experiment are extremely simple. Each week I define 5 deep work tasks that I have to do. When I start working on one of these 5 tasks, I start the stopwatch. And if I stop working, switch tasks to a non-deep work task, or switch tasks before the task is completed, I have to stop the stopwatch. I tracked this for 100 days and it changed the way I work forever. After quitting online entertainment, the year of 2025 was fantastic. I was excelling in a lot of different areas of my life that had very, very clear and obvious actions required to take to get me to the next level. Running marathons required me to do 3 very simple runs per week and then a marathon a month. Getting in better shape just required me to go to the gym 4 days per week and make sure I was eating correctly. And learning Spanish simply required me to sit there and watch Spanish videos. These actions were very clear and measurable. You got out what you put in. Business, on the other hand, is completely different. I could spend all day at the desk and get nothing done. And this is what I did for essentially a year. My 3 big goals for the year were to grow a personal brand with an educational YouTube channel, to build a school community, and to create a profitable online business. Now, I worked relentlessly on this, harder than I've ever worked in my entire life, but at the end of that year, I had 300 subscribers on my YouTube channel, I had 60 members in a free school community, and I did not have a profitable business. When I looked back on the other areas of my life that I'd had success in, what I noticed is that in those areas, I only did the 80-20 activities. I only did the small set of actions that had a big difference. But then when I looked at my business, I noticed that I was doing the complete opposite. I was spending a lot of time researching, a lot of time doing admin tasks, a lot of time doing tasks that don't really move the needle. And this is why I spent so much time at the desk but got nothing done. My hypothesis coming into this experiment was that if I spent half the time working but only focused on the 80-20 activities that really move the needle, I would get more work done and I would grow faster than if I spent twice the time on whatever activity. Now, the beauty of this experiment is that there's only 5 tasks that I can do that actually contribute towards my deep work output. This means that I will not be rewarded unless I do 80-20 activities. This experiment really stood out to me because when I thought about it from a fitness context, if you simply stand on the scales every single day, simply the fact of looking at your weight every day, you will lose weight. So I thought that, okay, if I just track the actual work I'm doing on my 80-20 activities every day, I'm probably gonna do more work on these activities. Now, my goal of this experiment was to spend 4.5 hours a day just working on these 80-20 activities, split into 3 90-minute deep work blocks where my focus did not waver. It was just focusing on the 80-20 activity. What I hoped is that if I did that, I would be able to take my YouTube subscribers from around 300 to 1,000, which is a big milestone, and take my free school community from 60 members to 200, as well as actually making my business profitable. So what actually happened over these 100 days? First of all, my work structure changed completely because what I was working on was completely different. Knowing that I couldn't start the timer and I couldn't actually progress towards my goal unless I was doing a real high leverage 80-20 activity just meant that I spent the majority of my work time working on really high impact activities. The time I spent researching or doing admin dropped significantly, and what you'd think is, well, if you spend less time researching, then you're probably going to learn less. You're probably not going to know as much. But I found the opposite happened. Because I was spending more time allocated towards these big needle moving activities, I was progressing quickly and I was encountering new problems to solve. And I was actually progressing through these feedback cycles much faster by taking action rather than by spending all of this time researching. Also, when I sat down to work, I wasn't thinking about what to do. I wasn't inventing tasks. It was just, okay, here are a set of actions that you have to do. Let me work through these actions. There was no decision making here. There was no opportunity for me to take on a low leverage garbage task. There was just a set of actions that I had to do if I actually wanted to start this time. Now, having my work structure change was good, but one of the biggest quantifiable benefits I saw was an improvement in my focus. My focus got absolutely insane. I was able to average over 90 minutes of single task focus every single week for over 15 weeks. Now, this is impressive as it is, but bear in mind that my focus was so bad that I was diagnosed with ADHD. I was literally told, you have to take this pill if you want to be able to focus normally because your brain is incapable of focusing. This same person is now able to focus for over 90 minutes on average on one single task. The biggest reason for that is my goal was to spend 90 minutes on average focusing on one individual high leverage task 3 times a day. So every time I thought of getting distracted, I thought of switching tasks, I thought of moving to something easy, I knew, but I have to stop the stopwatch. And if I stop the stopwatch, I'm messing up my data. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to stay focused. And one of the biggest benefits this gave is that if you can focus on one task for a long period of time, up to 90 minutes, you get really strong returns on that time. You become obsessed over the problem and you get really great returns on the work time you put in. Now, on top of the fact that I was getting really strong returns on my work time, I was also doing a good amount of work. Almost every single week, I was able to average over 4 hours a day on these deep work tasks. But the funny thing is that this felt easy because this was me going from 8 hours a day at the desk to about 4.5. This is almost half the time, but the time I was putting in, I was getting strong returns on that time and I was working on the right actions. Now, this is all great, but these are just inputs. These are just actions that I took. How did this materially affect my life? Well, this is where it got wild. First of all, with my brand, the educational channel that you're watching right now. This channel took me 1 year of posting 3 videos every single week to get to around 300 to 350 subscribers. Over the course of this 100 days, I didn't just get this to 1,000 subscribers, I got this to nearly 4,000. I over 10x'd my brand within these 100 days. This was a massive, massive milestone for me because this is one of the biggest goals that I was trying to hit. Now, you might hear 4,000 subscribers and think, that's not very many, but you have to bear in mind that this is an educational channel trying to actually change people's lives rather than just providing pure entertainment. I'm not gonna grow like an entertainment channel. This for me was a big, big milestone. Second goal, growing the school community to about 200 members. Bear in mind, it took me a year to get from 0 members to about 60. We weren't able to just get to 200, but we were able to get to nearly 700 within these 100 days. Now, this was amazing because it really felt like we were building a movement here. So many people coming through this community saying how much it's changed their lives. It was a very, very rewarding feeling. Finally, the business. The goal here was just to get my business to profitable because over the course of a year, I was not able to achieve that, working very, very hard to trying to make some money online. Now, over the course of these 100 days, we were able to make this business profitable, but it didn't take us 100 days, it took us 10. We were able to turn this business from unprofitable to profitable in just 10 days after this experiment. Now, this was fantastic because it allowed me to become a digital nomad and live wherever I want while I work and grow this business. I flew from Australia to Buenos Aires, which took me about 50 hours, but I spent the last 2 months there and now I'm living in Mexico City, and I've got to say, it feels pretty amazing. Being able to align my purpose with my business, with my lifestyle, having all of this synchronized together, feels incredible. Now, this was just so game-changing for me, especially coming on the back of getting rid of online entertainment, that I thought, okay, I need to run some other people through this experiment. I need to make sure it's not just me. This wasn't just luck. This really does work. So what I did is I took 6 online entrepreneurs from the Modern Monk community, all of who were struggling with focus and execution, and I ran them through this experiment. Every day for 6 weeks, these entrepreneurs ran through this experiment and we collected the data. Now, I gamified the system to provide a goal and a little bit of competition. Each week, I graded their execution between 0 and 100. To achieve this 100, this perfect score, you would have to work for 4.5 hours every single day, have single task focus for 90 minutes on average, and spend over 3 hours per day every single day of that week working. So we took these entrepreneurs through this experiment for 6 weeks with the goal to completely remove online entertainment and get over 90 execution scores. Now, I didn't cherry pick a bunch of David Goggins, people with incredible willpower, to do this. I just picked normal online entrepreneurs. Most of these guys were averaging hundreds of minutes of online entertainment per week with the average execution score in the 50s. In just 6 weeks, we were able to take every single person's weekly online entertainment consumption to 0 and we were able to get the average execution score to over 90, with the majority of people achieving a perfect score. Now bear in mind, this means that they needed over 90 minutes on average of single task focus. They had to spend over 4.5 hours a day on average working on these high leverage deep work tasks, and they had to consistently work over 3 hours a day every single day. I cannot believe how much of an impact a piece of paper, a pen, and a timer had over my output. Now, if you want to start this experiment today, you can join the Modern Monk community for free. The first thing that we do is figure out, okay, what is your North Star? What is your main objective? What are the exact set of 80-20 actions required for you to hit that goal? And then we get you set up with this experiment. I run you through the entire experiment start to finish. I give you all of these tracking sheets. I automatically grade your execution scores so you can run through this experiment, not just by yourself, but with hundreds of other people inside the Modern Monk community. So you can join for free. I'll leave a link in the description below. For everyone else, if you want to figure out how do I become so productive people think I have 48 hours in the day, you can check out this video right here. So I'll either see you in the Modern Monk community or in that video. Cheers.